Tina Watson's tragic story remains one of the most horrifying and haunting mysteries in the world of scuba diving. Tina Watson was a young and adventurous woman who had always dreamt of exploring the underwater world. In 2003, she married her love, Gabe Watson, who shared her passion for diving. Their dream honeymoon took them to the pristine waters of the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. Little did they know that this trip would forever change their lives. On the 22nd of October, Tina and Gabe embarked on a scuba diving excursion. Tina was an inexperienced diver, and her husband Gabe, an advanced open-water diver, was supposed to be her protector beneath the waves. What should have been a joyful experience turned into a chilling nightmare. As the group descended into the deep blue, tragedy struck. Tina Watson ran into difficulties, and it's unclear exactly what happened, but it was clear she was in distress. Her husband, Gabe, claimed he tried to help her, but was unsuccessful in his attempts. Panic and chaos ensued beneath the waves. Tina Watson's life was slipping away, and her husband's actions only seemed to worsen the situation. Eventually, Tina sank to the ocean floor, unable to be revived. Gabe Watson swam to the surface, leaving his wife behind, and alerted the dive boat of the tragedy. It wasn't until 20 minutes later that Tina's lifeless body was brought to the surface, but it was too late. Her honeymoon adventure had ended in a horrifying and inexplicable tragedy. The story takes an even darker twist when investigations began. Gabe Watson was accused of neglecting his wife, of not doing enough to save her, and some even suspected foul play. He was put on trial in Australia, charged with manslaughter. However, in a shocking twist, the jury found him guilty of the lesser charge of manslaughter, and he served just 18 months in prison. Tina Watson's family never received the closure they desperately sought, and many questions remain unanswered. The true nature of what happened on that fateful day beneath the Great Barrier Reef still haunts the memories of her loved ones. To truly capture the horrifying essence of Tina Watson's story, one chilling photo endures, an image of her lifeless body on the ocean floor, haunting and chilling in its implications. In a small, peaceful Alaskan town, a sinister tale unfolded, one that would send shivers down the spine of all who heard it. The story revolved around Samantha Koenig, a young woman with dreams and aspirations like any other. But her life would take a dark and horrifying turn in February 2012. Samantha worked at the Common Grounds Cafe, a quaint little coffee shop where the friendly atmosphere and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air. Everything seemed normal on the evening of February 1st. Samantha was busy closing up the cafe when a man named Israel Keys, a name unknown to her, entered the premises. Unbeknownst to Samantha, this seemingly ordinary man had a dark secret. Keys, a cunning and ruthless serial killer, had meticulously planned this abduction. He forced Samantha into a stolen vehicle and left behind a ransom note at the cafe, demanding a hefty sum for her release. Panic and confusion gripped the town as the authorities began their desperate search for the missing young woman. For weeks, Samantha's family and friends clung to hope, praying for her safe return. But unbeknownst to them, Samantha's ordeal was far from over. Keys, a maniacal predator, held her captive in a remote cabin. He subjected Samantha to unspeakable horrors, tormenting her both physically and emotionally. As the days turned into weeks, Samantha's fate remained uncertain. The anguish and fear she endured must have been unbearable. And all the while, Israel Keys carried on with his life, leaving behind no clues or evidence to trace him. The Koenig family was left in the dark, with only the ransom note as a glimmer of hope. However, the most chilling part of this story came to light after Keys' arrest. He was captured in Texas in March 2012, and during interrogation, he confessed to Samantha Koenig's murder. Keys divulged gruesome details about her final moments, revealing that he had ended her life shortly after her abduction. But that was not all. The true horror lay in the photograph he had taken to taunt and torment Samantha's family. It was a horrifying image after he murdered her, and leaving her body in a shed, Keyes set off for New Orleans to join his family as they all set out to the Gulf of Mexico for a 2-week cruise. When the cruise was over, Keyes went back to the shed in Alaska and removed Samantha's body. He applied makeup to her face and sewed her eyelids open. He then placed a 4-day-old newspaper next to her and snapped a photo, one that no family should ever have to endure. In the end, Keyes had captured the pain and suffering of a young woman in a photograph, a sick reminder of the monstrous acts he had committed. Samantha Koenig's case serves as a chilling reminder that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places. Hisashi Uchi was a man whose tragic fate would forever be etched in the annals of medical history. Born on April 1, 1974, in Tokyo, Japan, he was an ordinary man leading an ordinary life until a dreadful accident in 1999 would turn his existence into a nightmare beyond imagination. Hisashi worked as an operator at the Tokaimura nuclear facility, a place where radioactive materials were manipulated and processed. On September 30, 1999, a catastrophic event unfolded at the plant that would leave Hisashi Uchi at the center of a horrifying medical experiment. A critical error occurred when workers mixed an excessive amount of enriched uranium in a precipitation tank, triggering a violent, uncontrolled nuclear chain reaction. In the ensuing chaos, Hisashi, along with his colleagues Masato Shinohara and Yutaka Yokokawa, was exposed to an unprecedented amount of radiation. It was a level of radiation far beyond what any human body could endure. The effects on Hisashi were immediate and catastrophic. He suffered severe burns on his body, and his internal organs began to disintegrate from the intense radiation exposure. His skin turned black and peeled away, leaving his body a grotesque and agonizing sight. Despite the horrifying extent of his injuries, doctors at the University of Tokyo Hospital were determined to save Hisashi's life. He became the subject of a medical experiment, as his physicians struggled to find ways to treat radiation poisoning at such an extreme level. Hisashi endured excruciating pain as doctors attempted various treatments, including blood transfusions and skin grafts. His organs, however, continued to deteriorate. As weeks turned into months, Hisashi's condition worsened. His body was no longer recognizable as that of a human being. His heart continued to beat, but he was kept alive through machines, and his consciousness seemed to have been lost long ago. The medical team faced an agonizing ethical dilemma. They knew that Hisashi Uchi was beyond any hope of recovery, and his suffering was unimaginable. Yet they were compelled to keep him alive to study the effects of radiation poisoning. It was a harrowing decision that would haunt them forever. Finally, on December 21, 1999, 83 days after the accident, Hisashi Uchi succumbed to the relentless agony of his injuries. He had become a living ghost, a testament to the horrifying consequences of nuclear disaster. Warning: the following image is a shocking and disturbing photograph of Hisashi Uchi during his final days in the hospital. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.